Still on international news, Turkey and Russia are calling on all parties in Libya to stop hostilities and declare a ceasefire by midnight on the 12th of January. The call came after talks between President Tayyip Erdogan and Vladimir Putin in Istanbul. Turkey is backing Fayez al-Sarraj's Tripoli-based government of national accord, while Russia has sent forces to back General Khalifa Haftar's opposing forces to the east. Ankara says it will send troops to Libya upon al-Sarraj's request. In a joint statement, Turkey and Russia urged parties in Libya to declare a sustainable ceasefire to stabilize the situation on the ground and normalize daily life in Tripoli and other cities. The United States has deployed more soldiers to Kenya's Manda Bay Island to bolster security. This after Sunday's terror attack at a Kenya military base used by the U.S. for anti-terrorism training. 3 Americans were killed as well as a Kenyan civilian. Iranian officials in Kenya have distanced the government from the attack. Sarah Kimani reports from Nairobi.
Security personnel and officials in Kenya have been on high alert since the December festivities season began, and that has continued well into the new year, especially as the country approaches January the 15th, the anniversary of the Dusit D2 attack in Nairobi, in which at least 21 people were killed. Now, that has also been heightened by the fact that there has been several attacks towards the beginning of the year here in the country. One at a military installation in the Lamu Island and another in a bus still in that area. There was also an attack in which 4 people died in the area of Garissa on the border with Somalia. The US-Iran tensions have also raised tensions here in the country, with a lot of people fearing that the country may be a target because it has a lot of US interests. This afternoon, the Iran embassy officials here in the country issued a press statement reassuring Kenyans that they are safe, and indeed civilians everywhere will be spared from any retaliatory attacks that they may decide to carry out.
There is no any relation between Iran and US tension and Kenya. We have received a lot of sympathy for this really horrific attack towards Mr. General Qasem Soleimani from Kenyans. And Kenyans all the time during the history was our close and deep friends. And by the way, I want to clarify for you, even we have a right of retaliation and revenge toward this act of war, but in that time we divided between civilians and the US troops and militaries. It means we send a message to all the Americans. We are not trying to kill civilians, because there is a big difference between Iranian government and US government. That's a big difference.
And we continue looking at political developments regionally on African Perspective at 99. US-Iran tensions and how they impact the continent. We also look at immigration, the Amendment Act and its impact on exiled politicians in South Africa. African Perspective anchor Aldrin Sampear joins us now for more. So, Aldrin, we've seen a lot of movement. The chessboard is moving, especially in terms of diplomatic efforts on quelling tensions between US and Iran. How does this impact the continent?
Definitely. And just listening to the interview that you had immediately after that press briefing by Donald Trump with the Minister of Home Affairs, and saying that Donald Trump is a militiaman. And you know that the ANC had issued a statement saying that what they are calling for is a de-escalation as well of all the war talk and all the tension that's currently playing out. But now that you have what some people are saying, that Trump seems to have taken a step back, considering that he wasn't as harsh as he was on Twitter, does this mean that the ANC would welcome this, where Trump is now speaking about dialogue, he's speaking about how do we get Iran to be prosperous? We will be speaking to the International Relations Subcommittee Chairperson of the ANC, Lindiwe Zulu, about that. We'll also be speaking to Faith Mabira about how this could have an impact on the continent. And then, of course, there's the conversation to be had, another one that you had with the Minister Aaron Motsoaledi, and that is when it comes to immigration in the country, the Amendment Act on immigration. Lots of lawyers, immigration lawyers, saying that this is unconstitutional, considering, of course, that you know that when it comes to protest action within South Africa, that is protected. by the Constitution. But when it comes to refugees, what is it that the country is saying? Is the country saying that politicians who are exiled in South Africa should not be campaigning for change in the country, as the ANC did, as you rightly put to the minister earlier on, and I heard him telling you that this is what they call blackmail. Blackmail,
indeed. Thanks a lot for that, Aldrin. Please do watch African Perspective this evening from 9 p.m. till 10 p.m. with Aldrin Sampear. Now, Eskom will implement stage 2 load shedding from 9 o'clock tonight until 8 tomorrow morning. This is to maximize electricity availability during working hours. The move is because of a loss of generation capacity, they say, which has made it necessary to